2026 is finally upon us. That means our January hiatus is underway. What this means is there's not going to be any new traditional episodes that'll be releasing in the month of January. In fact, the only two episodes you can expect are 1. Our Q4 catch-up with Movies and Us, wherein we discuss the last 3 months of 2025, and 2. The Patreon selected movie at the end of the month. No other episodes are scheduled for the month of January, and we'll begin releasing new episodes on a regular basis starting February 2026. That said, if you like the show, consider supporting on Patreon. Any episodes I record during January, they're going to have an early release on Patreon. I'm already in talks to have episodes on Bottle Rocket, The Neverending Story, and of course, Stranger Things Season 5. So if you don't want to wait till those episodes come out in February, consider supporting on Patreon for $3 a month. You'll get access to those episodes the second they become available, plus a lot of other digital benefits too. In the meantime, Happy New Year, and enjoy the episode.
You're listening to Cinematic Doctrine.
Hey, if you just press play, there is no Patreon chat this time. Yeah, we're recording in January, and it's one of my first days off after a whole lot of work. So it just kind of felt nice to think we would just be doing a normal recording and not have a Patreon chat this time. But there's still benefits to supporting on Patreon, like listening to episodes early. So whenever it's January, we typically do not release normal episodes. Not on the main feed, of course. If you're a supporter on Patreon, though, anytime we record during this month, those episodes are posted uncut and early on the Patreon. So as of right now, there should be an episode on Patreon for Begonia. I believe by this point, an episode on Stranger Things Season 5 is already up there. And the Begonia one's not even probably coming up until late February or March on the main feed. So there's you just get to have these things way ahead of time. A lot of the other episodes do have Patreon chats that are exclusive for Patreon supporters, so if that sounds interesting to you, $3 a month, you get access to all that stuff and early episodes, so it's pretty cool. But you didn't press play so you could hear me pitch some Patreon stuff, although you will hear more of that later as we go forward. You press play because you want to hear a Party Pleaser episode on the film Priest from 2011. This film was actually selected by Patreon supporters, so it's another benefit of supporting. There is a post where you get to submit a couple movie ideas, and then 2 of them are put up head to head, and the rest of the supporters get to vote which ones go up. Priest ended up winning, so Priest is our first official episode of the year, so that'll be interesting.
What a way to start.
I know, right? So Party Pleasers, though, are a little different than movie discussions. They're similar in that we will be talking about a movie, but Party Pleasers, we will have one of us on the show has basically summarized the whole film from start to finish, and we'll describe it to you. So if you haven't seen Priest, that's fine. You'll be able to keep up with us just fine. If you have seen Priest and it's been a while, now you'll get some good reminders on what happens beat by beat. As we're describing it, though, we're going to cut in with thoughts, commentary, responses to certain scenes, basically stuff like that throughout the entire time. And so it makes for a pretty fun episode. At the very end, after the movie has ended, we will decide individually if we feel it's a party pleaser or a party pooper, and for any reason, explain why we feel that way. So keep on listening. Today I am joined by Shirl. Hey, Shirl, what's up?
Not much. What a new year.
Yes.
I don't even have descriptors.
Yeah.
What a new year.
2026, baby. The big 26. Here we are.
Woo. Yep. We just got some snow. So that was cool. That's a fun way to start the year.
Yeah, we got snow too. I was still able to do stuff at work, so that was nice. It didn't delay that, so that was cool.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, let's kick off 2026 strong with an episode on Priest. You ready to get started?
Awesome. I am. Let's go.
Okay. And as typical, as usual, just cut me off anytime you have a thought.
My first thought is, have you seen this before? Or is this your first time?
This was my first time. I did not see this.
I was going to say, I think I have seen this, but it's been years. But I also think I may have confused it with another movie. But knowing that I had seen this one, I think I was also thinking of scenes from another but similar movie. And I didn't see them in this. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm thinking of a different one. But this one I've definitely seen in the last 10 to 15 years.
Priest does look like other movies
Oh yeah, absolutely.
around this era. Priest aesthetically is a very it feels like it ought to have come out early 2000s, kind of a post-Matrix aesthetic of like
right.
overly colorized, overly stylized, but it's like a forgotten, lost Alex Proyas movie, although it's not of the quality that he usually has. But we will get into that. Yeah, 2011, this is when this came out. So the opening of the film, we're shown there's a thing called the Sola Mira Hive, and it's this giant kind of structure that looks almost like a out of ground bee hive is kind of what it looks like, but it's giant. And we have our main characters who are inside of this structure. They're talking about going to fight something called the Queen. And one of the characters, and they're all like, they look like warriors with crosses on their face. And one of them realizes that it's a trap, so it ends up being this slaughter. Film is PG-13. I watched the unrated cut, which wasn't longer at all.
No, I was curious about. I was like, which one am I going to watch, the unrated or the rated one? So I was like, I looked at how long it was. I was like, same amount of time.
So just a couple extra seconds of violence.
And then I also looked at the price on Amazon. I was like, well, it's the same price. I might just go with the unrated one.
But so it's basically a bloodless bloodbath. And then we have Paul Bettany, who is presumably our main character. He ends up escaping, but Carl Urban is dragged into the hive. Is this a tragic backstory? I guess we will find out. So then we get this little animated kind of lore dump. As is tradition with party pleasers, the film starts with telling you all the necessary info you need to know about the world that you are in, which is constant. So we get this opening scene that's animated, which is basically the lore of man and vampires and how they've been at war forever. Each race, by the end of this war, which we see like different eras of human living. So there's like feudal era, there's like medieval era, and yeah, the opening scene is at least visceral. Like, it's pretty neat for being a film that was PG-13. I guess they were able to get away with the violence and gore here because it's animated.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have like warriors with swords, and then like a vampire just flies by them, and then they're just like turned into mush. It's like kind of cool. Basically, each race got into this crazy long-standing standstill where each vampires were stuck in one area, man is stuck in the city safeguarded by the church, and then vampires have their hive. The church then founded what are called priests, and these priests are super strong warriors that have sort of a nondescript power level. Like, they kind of function like Jedi, but without, the magic part, where they can seem to like jump real far, fall real far, and have extra sensory abilities.
They're basically vampires without like the teeth and needing to drink blood.
Priests succeed in basically defeating the vampires, and then what's left are vampires on reservations. So now there's a couple of reservations,
which was an interesting choice of calling it.
It's 2011.
Yeah.
So they have these vampire reservations that are left, and then there are these cities that man occupies, as well as a couple outposts here and there. And they largely are run by the church, this giant nondescript church, very coded in like old Catholicism kind of visuals. The church then disbanded the priests because they no longer needed them, but they also feared them. They seemed afraid of what the priests were capable of. So our story begins kind of long after these events. And here's the part where I'll say that this is sourced from a manhwa. I'm not familiar with the quality of the original source material, but this kind of very layered backstory and style, I don't know, it makes sense to me that it would have started as like a comic,
Okay, I was just gonna say, what is a manhwa for Korean. Us who have no idea what you're talking about?
It's a Korean comic. And so because like a lot of the visual language in the film made me think of like 90s and 80s cyberpunk comics from that era.
Yeah,
like Appleseed. Anyway, so that kind of fit the bill. So that's how we got started. You're a big vampire person.
Yep.
So We haven't gotten to the vampires quite yet, but in terms of lore and background, how was this set up for you as vampires?
I don't hate it. I mean, they kept like the whole impervious. Impervious? Is that the word? To sunlight. They don't like sun.
Yeah, they don't go out in the sun, but at night the vampires attack.
Yeah, they come out at night. We haven't really seen the vampires yet, so I won't go into describing them just yet.
Yeah, we'll get that soon.
Their speed is kind of depicted in the animated, so that's pretty typical as well. It's also pretty typical to have like a vampire hunter of a sort within a vampire lore. I think this is maybe one of the I don't want to say only ones, but I can't think of any others that have a bit of like a supernatural type hunter. The hive aspect is definitely a little different for a vampire lore. So like covens or clusters or groups of vampires is very typical within a lot of different lore, unless you're really looking at like Dracula, which is pretty singular and he's got his little wives or whatever. But it's usually a group. This I think is one of there might be one other one, but the hive aspect is different for a lore as well.
Yeah, as far as I can tell from a lot of vampire stuff, humans are as human as they get. And then the vampires are the ones that have like the magic and the necromancy and all the crazy stuff. So this is a little different in that priests seem to be like superheroes in a way.
Right.
But yeah, so we begin and we're basically at the outskirts in a desert somewhere. There's a family that at nighttime is attacked by vampires and only the daughter survives. But there's this shadowy hooded figure that comes upon her. She screams and then we cut away. So we're getting some setup probably. Is she dead? Is she captured? Who knows? Because the vampires seem to just kill everyone else. So we then cut to the cathedral city, which is a very cyberpunk spiritual nightmare. There's a lot of text everywhere. Absolution is the only way. Faith, work, security. So very like 1984 meets cyberpunk meets Dark City meets Catholicism and Battle Angel Alita. Like, just like a mix of everything. So I got to be honest, this stuff was kind of neat. Yeah. I kind of liked these parts of the film in terms of visual stuff. I'm not on board yet. Like, I'm not into the movie yet, but I thought this was kind of neat. I like Dark City and like that stuff. So Paul Bettany then is our priest character. He goes to this cyber confessional, which I thought was kind of neat. He keeps he keeps dreaming of the war, and since he's a priest, he's this forced retired kind of figure. So he's dreaming of this war, and then the opening scene that we saw earlier with Karl Urban. So it's clear that he has these regrets over not being able to save Karl Urban. He was literally holding onto his hand when then Karl was pulled into the hive. Yeah, so this is around the time that I put a note that was just like, it took like 8 minutes for me to get into the movie, but these aesthetics are kind of neat. I like the kind of mix of spiritualism and technology into being kind of overpowering. Like, I'm familiar with a lot of sci-fi, especially last year. I feel like we covered sci-fi that was sort of spiritualistic. Event Horizon is a good example, I think, there. But this one is neat that it's just like everyone's lined up to go into cyber confessional, and then you have like these like police officers that look like they're from Jinro, who like have glowing helmets and guns, the giant guns and stuff. Like that's kind of a neat idea. That I didn't mention this, but when we're introduced to Paul Bettany there in the cathedral city, it says like, oh, it's time for like prayer, and like the church lights up and everyone turns to face it and has to like do like it's just very strange. I wanted like a lot more of this stuff, but yeah, what did you think?
I liked it. I think I also like it's like they overly compensated to say like, oh, we know that vampires dislike crosses and I guess holy water and whatever other aspect of religion that vampires hate and can die to, and then went like full throttle with it to create an entire city to protect them. Like they could have easily gone white stone steepled chapel type stuff, but they went into the direction of like industrialization and smog and smoke and stuff like that, and I think that's neat.
Yeah, so then we Oh, this is interesting. This was also a note that I had at 8 minutes. My note just reads, "It's pretty cheesy though, and Paul Bettany, question mark, LOL. No thanks. He is not a leading man." Brutal. Yeah, I did not like him here at all.
I mean, I think he did okay for something that definitely might have been like outside of a comfort zone. Maybe he was trying something new as being a leading man. Like I kind of liked it. I liked that he had a bit of a
Oh boy.
dark streak
Oh,
to
boy.
it, and I think he did okay. I kept trying to figure out if he started out with a British accent or not, because then he would talk, and I'm like, wait, didn't he have a British accent before? But I think that's just because I know who he is, and I might have been confusing it. So
Yeah, he's bad here. Hey there, listener. Want to influence the podcast? Head on over to patreon.com/cinematic doctrine and support the show for $3 a month. In doing so, you'll be able to vote on a movie poll that picks a film we discuss each month. So jump on over there and have your voice heard. So he's going home, and there's a character named Hicks that runs into him. He's a friend of the family from the beginning of the film, and he meets Priest to tell him that his brother and his wife had been attacked. The wife had been killed. Brother is in the hospital. They've been attacked by vampires. His brother's injured and recovering, and then the daughter is missing. Of course, this is at the time where priests have already defeated vampires, so vampire attacks are very unlikely. Even so, Priest goes to visit what are called Monsignors. They're basically this quorum that leads the whole city. They're like the popes. And he asked to be reinstated as a priest to go investigate this vampire attack. They deny it. They don't permit him to be reinstated as a priest. And then they say there are no vampires anymore. We've totally wiped them out. The only ones that exist are on reservations.
they can't leave or something. Like they can't get out.
He can't leave. To do so would be to go against the church. And to go against the church is to go against God. That's something repeated over and over.
Mm-hmm.
They actually just straight up don't believe the vampires did it. They're like, it must have been just raiders or scavengers or something like
raiders.
that. Bandits. We then cut to the daughter, who is in this cage on a train car, it seems. And this character, Carl Urban, who we don't have the name for. I don't think they ever say his name.
Do we have names for any of them?
Priest is just called Priest.
Yeah.
Carl Urban is called Black Hat, as per the IMDb.
Eventually, yeah.
So, yeah, I'll just start using that for here now. So Black Hat is on the train, and he says to the daughter inside, the daughter, I think, is named Lucy.
Lucy, yeah.
And says to Lucy, like, you're in this cage for your protection. And it's because we see they're not vampires on the outside, but, like, crazy people, it seems.
Icky people.
And Black Hat basically is using Lucy as bait to get to Priest. Why? We're not sure. We will learn soon. Priest is at a bar. He's chatting with some other guy. And when Priest says that he's going to escape and go help, that Monsignor is like, yeah, I was afraid of that. And then the police show up. But he doesn't seem to, he seems to let him go. The police, like, Priest fights them, basically, like, kills them, and then
he
leaves.
does. He just straight up kills them.
This is our first action sequence. What did you think?
I actually kind of liked it. And as listeners know, I have a soft spot in my heart for, like, B movies and crappy movies. So, like, I'll probably be a little bit more kind, but I recognize, not great. But I kind of liked that he, although it was cheesy, like, broke his rosary and was like, I am mad, and all that. And then the film was like they could have done a little bit more with this, but because he is so fast, because, like, this is how they kind of depicted how fast priests are. While the beads are, like, tumbling and falling, he's already moving and kind of taking out the different soldiers. And then we kind of go back and the beads are continuing to fall and bounce on the ground. And he's still taking them out. And then, like, they settle on the ground and he's done. So I feel like that's cleverly done. And he just, no nonsense, and just, like, gets up and walks out. I do wonder, did everybody else in the bar leave? Because I do think that as they were coming in, they were, like, telling them to leave, but they didn't really, like, show that too much. So I was just wondering if, like, everyone's, like, crowded against the wall, like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Don't hit me. I hope a stray bullet doesn't hit me, kind of thing. Because then they're just, like, laying dead on the ground and then he walks out. So
I don't know.
I'm going to say they got out, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to follow what's happening. Like, I get what's happening, but I think, like, this movie would have been benefited by being a better shot action movie. Like, these scenes, but it kind of locks in that, like, that's not what I'm going to get. Yeah. But, like, the aesthetics, I guess, are kind of neat. Yeah. Like he has this dope line where they're like, if you go against the church, you're going to go against God. You can't leave. He's like, well, then I guess I go against God. And then like just kills these guys, which is great because then he immediately cuts to him praying like, God, forgive me. Like, I didn't mean to, but like, I got to do what must be done.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting, because that's almost like what this, I don't want to say what this movie is really about is like this man's faith.
Well,
but
it's
it kind of is. It's trying to be. But you're getting that, like, I don't know if juxtaposition is the right way, but we're getting like faith in God versus faith in the church, where the Monsignors are all about, let's be real, they're all about the church and not faith in God.
They're about order and power.
Exactly. And Priest is definitely a little bit more, Priest is in Paul Bettany. I also will just call him Priest. Definitely has a little bit more of like, no, I have faith in God. It's the church that's a little messed up and stuff like that. So we see that in this scene. But he's also like, I got to go save my family. So I'm going to go do that.
Yeah, so he leaves and he gears up. He acquires his blades, other weapons, stuff like that. And then he leaves the city to go to Outpost 10. He's on a speeder bike. And our adventure starts from there. So Priest arrives at this outpost 10. He meets up with Hicks there, who is a gunslinger, a sheriff of a nearby town. And then the two of them head back to this town of Augustine. These are all on the outside of Cathedral City, out and about. Hicks, like Priest, also seems incorrectly cast. That's my neck note. Actor is Cam, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Gigandet.
Better than I could.
I just think he's not good in it either. But most importantly, I just don't think, like, I don't think he was cast right, and then I don't think he's designed well. He looks like he's from the modern day cosplaying.
Yeah, I think he was passable, but I agree that like his look, they could have gone a little further and like maybe make his hair a little bit longer, maybe give him like a 5 o'clock shadow or something to kind of gruff up his face. He looked a little too clean and pretty to be living in something called the Wasteland. So I feel like they could have done a little bit better there. I don't think it was an awful performance, but yeah, I feel like everyone did their best.
I mean, I think everyone in this is bad, even Carl Urban, but we'll get into that soon.
I thought he was the best of all of them.
It's so embarrassing. So Priest and Hicks, they go to Augustine. Meanwhile, the Monsignors have reinstated 4 priests to send out after Priest. And one of them gets some significant focus, so it's probably someone who's close with Priest. Meanwhile, we cut back to Priest and Hicks, who are traveling to a nearby vampire reservation. When they arrive at the reservation, Priest learns that there are some people who actually volunteer to be familiars to vampires, which seems to be when you are bitten by a vampire but not fully drained. And so now you are like vampiric and you can be out in the sun, but you are like, in need of vampire stuff.
Think Igor.
Yeah.
In like Young Frankenstein or Igor in Frankenstein.
They set up a ticking time clock that Priest and Hicks have basically till sundown to investigate the reservation for any information about where Lucy went. They end up going into the ground hatch to enter the reservation proper. When they're in there, a fight ensues. Priest then interrogates a familiar for information, but it's too late. It ends up being sundown, and vampires show up. So we finally get this decent look at what the vampires kind of look like.
Yeah, they're kind of gross looking and slimy. Very alien. They have 3 fingers. I think it was 3 fingers on each hand. Kind of tall, very pale. Definitely slimy. I think I already said slimy, but I'd like to reiterate they're slimy looking. But they have no eyes. And which is typical for things that usually live in the night that either have no eyes, depending on how deep you are into the ground, or very big eyes so they can see in the dark. In this case, they don't have any eyes. They can jump, and I don't know if they fly or glide, because they don't really have wings.
They're just
not
fast
these
and they can
ones.
jump
They're
pretty
just,
far.
Yeah. And then they have, I think, fangs on the top and bottom of their
Lots of
mouth,
teeth.
which is, definitely lots of teeth, but like 4 very long ones, 2 from the top, 2 from the bottom, which is not very typical for vampires.
Yeah, these ones are very like alien looking, very animalistic. They don't have very many human features at all. Just hands, feet, featureless type things. there's a little, I think I wrote it down, but they later say that one of the reasons the church and humans hate vampires is because they don't have eyes, and eyes are the window to the soul. And so that's why you can trust that vampires have no soul. I was like, okay, that's kind of a neat idea. But otherwise, they're pretty like normal. Yeah. So anyways, they have this fight with these vampires. We kind of get to see some of their power level, but we also get to see some of Priest's power level, because now he's actually fighting that which he was made to fight. They end up defeating the vampires. 2 or 3 of them escape, and Hicks gets a little bit beat up though. And so Priest ends up making clear, like, you got to learn how to fight vampires. You know how to fight humans. You got to fight vampires. They end up going to interrogate the familiar who was left, and they end up learning from him that Lucy and these other vampires have been heading west. And also he threatens that you have no idea what's coming for you. Then a vampire drops from the ceiling or drops from the sky and attacks the familiar, and Priest is able to kill it. But that's all the info they're going to get here. Then we go to where we end up seeing some of the so this is where I'm going to switch from saying the main character named Priest to just Paul Bettany, because we're now going to introduce another priest.
Yeah.
So if I say Paul Bettany, I'm talking about the main character. If I say Priest, I'm talking about the other
anybody
characters.
Else.
So the priests that were sent out to investigate Priest are out exploring, but one of them is at the outpost. This is the woman that we got to focus on earlier. She's just a few steps behind where Paul Bettany and Hicks are. On their travels, Hicks and Paul Bettany have a heart-to-heart. Hicks had a relationship with Lucy. Paul Bettany is just learning some more information. Paul Bettany then makes clear if Lucy is infected, however, that he will have to kill her. And Hicks says, if it comes to that, I'll stop you. So, okay, kind of a cool setup. Just the idea of like priests just hate vampires. Like vampires are not good. Familiars, not good. Stuff like that. We then cut to Sola Mira. So we're at the hive that we were at in the beginning of the film. Priest and Hicks have arrived because this is sort of the closest hive. Now, hives have all been emptied out and left dormant because of the war and the reservations. So when they get there, Paul Bettany just says, like, hey, Hicks, you're going to stay at the opening because who knows what's down here. And he ends up leaving him. Paul Bettany runs into the other priest who was sent after him. And it turns out this priest is actually there to warn Paul Bettany of the clergymen, the monsignors, and how they have had some other priests sent to attack him. Hicks, however, then gets attacked by what is called a hive guardian, which is just a beefier Bara version of a vampire. It's just a bigger one. And so there's a fight that ensues. So now Paul Bettany, Priest, and Hicks are all fighting back. Hicks gets the killing blow. Yeah, I didn't really care for this fight scene. This is basically the second one.
Yeah, this one was
I think if this movie was sillier and schlockier, it would be pretty fun. Because, like, it's pretty stupid here that the priest throws tiny rocks into the sky and then Paul Bettany, like, jumps across them.
Yeah, that was too much. That was too much for me.
But, like, I know what physics is.
Yeah. I think most people do. At least I hope so.
I know that even if you have superpowers, this is not possible. At least if they're giant rocks, like there's enough force there that like I could, believe it, right? But like,
because it's one of those things that like when they go that far, like it does. Like you're like, oh, that like, yep, that kind of is like the one thing that just the whole movie.
Yeah. So this fight scene's boring and whatever, but I guess Hicks has learned some new things about combat, so there's that.
Yeah.
So Paul Bettany and the other priests have this heart-to-heart over their post-war trauma and also implications that there might be feelings between the two, which is not allowed among priests.
No, they're priests.
So the three are now working together as sort of this band of heroes. The three investigate more of the hive, and they end up finding this new location that seems to have like a different. They're just noticeably different. So in other words, they've learned that this hive has a new spawning pool for new vampires.
You may not know this, but the easiest way you can show your support for Cinematic Doctrine is to rate and review the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. So press pause and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And then press play again so you can hear the rest of the show.
I do have a really quick question, because I think I missed why Hicks started asking the girl priest if she's ever done it. Like, I think I missed the opening part of that conversation.
Did I write a note there? I thought that was maybe that's
because I know that's when they were talking about when priests become priests, they take a vow of celibacy. So he's like, "You never done it?" And he's just like,
Yeah,
"No,
that was dumb.
I was a kid." Like, it was like a weird conversation, only to introduce that Paul Bettany had a greater sacrifice because he became a priest later on in life. And I'm like, that's a fine conversation to have, but why start it out by pointing out whether or not the woman has had sex?
Because this movie's bad. Because it's poorly written and it's bad. Yeah, I get the scene ends and you go, weird. Okay, that's why they're talking about it, because they need to share information with the audience. It's not about anything else.
Yeah, seriously.
But it's a dumb exchange. I can't remember if that's up next or
it's while they're still kind of walking around the hive when they are figuring things out.
Yeah, but they end up seeing that the spawning pool has this open window funnel that kind of faces right towards Jericho, which is a different city. So we get some more developments. We go to Jericho, and there's a train that's arriving at a destination in Jericho, but we can tell that it's not expected. And then it opens up, and Black Hat steps off and then says, "Let's begin," because he is an epic villain. So Jericho's attacked by vampires. The extra priests that were also
the other three, four.
show up and they fight Black Hat. And by fight, I mean they don't. One of them gets immediately killed because Black Hat pulls his heart out, and then Black Hat.
Did he pull his heart out, or did he just punch him really hard? He had blood on it, because I thought it was the heart.
He punched him so hard that he reached into his stomach and pulled his poop out and held it.
Because again, I've seen plenty of shows. Vampire Diaries is one of my favorite, and they're ripping hearts out all the time, and the heart is huge.
It's a cool aesthetic,
in the hands. I like to see that, but in this case, it was just a bloody fist.
He pulled
that had a little thump sound, and I'm like, did he just punch him really hard? What is... Because they could have just, got a fake heart and just sprayed blood. It could have looked like a fake heart, too. They didn't have to put too much work into it, but they didn't commit to it. So I was a little bummed about that, because it's a movie and it's fantasy. I like seeing hearts ripped out because it's crazy. Also, it just seems mildly impossible because of how much, bone and stuff is there in your chest. So it's fascinating when something can do it.
Carl Urban plays Black Hat, the scat man. So he pulls the poo-poo out of this guy and he dies. And then he offers to the other priests, "You can either join me or die." And then we cut away, so we don't even get to watch that scene.
I will say, I think this is when it's we know who he is we as an audience know that Carl Urban is the guy from the front. But this is when it's revealed to the world of the movie. Oh, our friend, who we thought died in the hive however many years ago, is still alive, but he's something else. So that was the big reveal, I guess. I don't know.
For a movie that's not trying to be too complicated for the audience it's trying to reach, it's a mess, because I understand thinking back, oh, these are priests now that have they can kill vampires easy. They're not a problem. But they just see that there's this man standing amongst the vampire carnage who seems to be getting along with the vampires, but isn't a familiar. Because we've seen familiars. They're basically drained of color, hairless looking, manic incel boys. And so they're crazy. And then they see this walking, talking figure who has his faculties, but is very powerful. So this ought to be a shock. I think in a better movie, this would be that moment in, this is such a weird comparison, but I just rewatched the scene where in the original Clone Wars animated, the shorts that released prior to Revenge of the Sith, Grievous is introduced and it's a nightmare. He just obliterates 5 Jedi. It's crazy. And the point is to assert how powerful and intimidating and scary this is for our characters. But no, we get this scene where Black Hat kills this one, offers
with like
the other
a
to
punch
rejoin,
to
and
the
then it just
chest
cuts away.
and not even a heart. Like, I feel like to even give a little bit of what you describe with the comparison to Grievous is he could have had, like, I don't think it actually happens in real life because I don't pull hearts out of the chest of people for fun. So,
You don't?
like, no, I don't. Funny that. But, like, he could have had, like, the still beating, bloody, gushing heart in his hand. And that, I feel like it would be nice to have more, but like even that would have been enough to show like, oh shoot, this human-looking guy can shove his hand
and he
through the
feeds
chest
it.
of another person,
Feeds it to another
takes a
vampire.
bite out of it. But like, yeah, they just needed like one or two, or like, I don't know, the guy who comes up and he's doing the stupid like swingy thing. I'm like, that's such an expensive energy between now and like when you, anyway, he could have like ripped the arms off the guy. He could have
Yeah.
he could have done anything other than what he did, and then hang him on crosses. Like, yeah, no shock value, and the music didn't help either.
So yeah, Jericho's attacked, Black Hat, whatever. The main crew then finally arrives the following day, but it's too late. The whole city has been totally taken out.
Eaten.
I don't think I wrote a note about this, but I think I mentioned it, and I even read someone else like in their review mentioned that like occasionally the movie looks kind of cool. And I've already mentioned this with Cathedral City, but here the daytime shots of Jericho, it just looks kind of neat. Like I've mentioned this I think in a couple other reviews that like these sort of like high sci-fi or high fantasy, these very weird worlds, right? This is a world where vampires and humans have just existed and fought forever, but they've still kind of developed the same, despite the fact that apparently this was like a daily problem. And then you get to this age where it's like now there's Cathedral City and they're going out and living in different outposts or whatever, but there's no other continents, there's no oceans. Certain like stories, when they get bigger, they explain that away. Like in Claymore, they explain that they've been on an island, and it turns out there's a whole other world out there. Or in Attack on Titan, where they're on an island, and there's a whole other world out there. The exact same plot reveal later in their stories. They don't do that here. Maybe they do that in the manhwa, but like here, it's just, no, this is all the world is like whatever this plot of land is.
Right.
And the city, and then vampires. And you get some tidbits of stuff that's going on out there,
or even like what could have happened. Like at the very beginning,
when he's driving, you're thinking of the same thing.
Well, Priest's brother was like doing something in the ground, like he shot something into the ground, and he tells his wife, "Oh, the radiation is actually not that bad. Maybe we can start planting crops soon."
Oh,
so like a little tidbit of information of like, was there like, did they send off a like nuclear bomb everywhere to help get rid of the vampires? Like, what is
like
it?
Judge
but then
Dredd.
Even as he is driving or riding his bike or whatever, and we're getting like the big shots of like the scenery or lack thereof, it doesn't look like Earth. And I actually I wondered if it was like, this isn't Earth, this is just a different world, a totally made up world kind of thing, because like it looked spacey planety kind of thing. So
Gears of War is on a totally different planet, different world, different history, stuff like
which
that.
Which is totally fine. Like,
it's cool.
And I feel like that's a good way to kind of explain maybe there is no like oceans because it's not that type of planet. But I don't know.
All the things that could be cool are kind of here. And you can see how they'd be pretty interesting in the manhwa. Again, not familiar if it's actually any good or not. It was obviously good enough to get its own movie, get licensing to jump around. But yeah, like occasionally the visuals are kind of neat. When Priest is escaping Cathedral City, we see a lot of monuments and old city things. And like, okay, it's pretty cool. I like it.
It's got good bones. Like, it's so funny because I feel like a lot of the movies I've been watching lately, while like the execution has been quite horrible, this movie has good bones. There's a decent enough story. I'm not saying the acting is the best. I'm giving them a little extra credit for like what they were given, all that kind of stuff. But like, the acting was good. The scenery's good. Like, it's got good bones, but I feel like it just didn't do, like, there might not have been good enough direction to really get it go. Like this, I feel like this could have been like an interesting TV show potentially. Like, there's enough interest there. It just didn't hit the mark, except for a couple of neat scenes. And like, I'm starting to appreciate movies in that kind of way on occasion, of just like, okay, I see where they were going. I can appreciate that. They're really good. Yeah. But like, I still recognize when they're bad. I still might give this like a 2 or 3 star. We shall see after we finish discussing it. But I also can acknowledge, like, no, it's not that great.
Yeah, you sound like me.
It's got good bones.
I mean, I do.
It's got good
That's
bones.
where I'm at with movies now. Like, I just like movies, so I'll just watch whatever.
Oh,
and yeah, if there's
They're
stuff
fun.
I like, I'll point it out. But if not, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's keep going. So we have the gang has arrived at Jericho. It's total wasteland, and Paul Bettany ends up finding the 3 priests that had been slaughtered by Black Hat, and they're all hanging on crosses.
Yeah.
Need enough visual, very like post-apocalyptic type stuff. Paul Bettany and the priest that's with them, they connect over this. The priest that's with them gives Paul Bettany like some sort of weapon cross thing. We're not sure the significance.
Yeah,
but
it's like a silver cross. We saw it at the beginning of the movie.
It's clearly something significant to, I guess, the source, but it just turns out to be a blade that's used later.
Oh my gosh, it was so underwhelming. Yeah. I was hoping it was going to be more lightsaber-like without being like all light. Like I thought it was going to be like a full-on sword, and then it just
totally. It's just like a blade. Yeah,
it's just so stupid.
Paul Bettany's then they basically surmise what is the plan, and they realize, oh, this train line actually is pretty close to all the hives that have kind of existed, and if what they think is true is happening, what has happened is all these hives have created new spawning pools, funneled all the vampires onto the train, and the train goes directly to Cathedral City. And Hicks is like, or one of them says, well, why would they attack Cathedral City? They could only do it in one night. And Paul Bettany says, no, they wouldn't have to. And the reason that he says that is we've seen earlier, I didn't mention it.
Smog.
There's so much smog from Cathedral City that the entire city is dark all the time.
Which
kind of a neat idea. I kind of like that.
It is a cool idea. But as he's like at the very beginning when he's leaving and they pull back on the city, I'm like,
yeah, we see that. Yeah.
For a city that was created to protect people from vampires, they allowed it to get so
dark,
bad and corrupt, is probably what they're trying to get at, that it's covered in smog. What idiot.
I know, that is a silly, like, I didn't actually think of that until you said it right now. But it does make it. It is like a
perpetual night. And it's like, well, it's because, again, they've become complete. There's no more vampires. We don't need the priests or whatever. We don't need sunlight, whatever.
Which is like a dumb thing to say if you have reservations. Because, so we haven't cut away to talk about the reservations. But, like, now that we've seen the vampires and that they are unfeeling creatures, they're basically beasts.
They're just monsters,
Why would you have any of them alive? Unless you kept, like, research for, like, medications or whatever, like to learn about why they can
never
live
implied, but
not
agreed,
implied,
like,
not here in this film. Like, there is no reason to have these reservations. And I like the idea that the reservation is, at least the one that we see, is like, oh, it is
over a chasm.
It's like, it looks like a device that was made to sit over a chasm and then has like it doesn't have it doesn't reach the bottom. It's like a bucket. Like a giant bucket, and then to get into the reservation you have to go into a hatch. So I guess the idea is, like, if needed be, you could just close it off, let it drop, and everything that's in it would die. It's just like, okay, these are all cool sci-fi ideas, but why would you have a reservation? Like, why?
I wonder if that's part of the source material, that, like, because, like,
it has
this
to
isn't
be,
really
right?
like, the movie kind of ends with, like, maybe a sequel, but, like, obviously it's 2026, doesn't happen.
Right.
But I wonder if in the source material there's a little bit more explanation to the reservations. Like, yes, we're studying them, or the idea was to keep some alive because maybe some people felt bad and there was like a big push. Okay, fine, we'll just put them there. And then like a corrupt priest person was like, I can do this. Because then what we find out later on with this movie is like, maybe there's not just singular thinking. So like, again, like I said, good bones. The great idea. It just wasn't done very well.
Yeah, the film itself is a mess.
Enjoying this episode? Grab that share link and tell your friends. Word of mouth is the most effective way for a podcast to reach new listeners, so don't be shy. Share the episode wherever you can.
But yeah, so they're believing that, okay, all of the hives and the reservations, all the vampires are on this train. This train is going to Cathedral City. And since Cathedral City is so overcome by smog that they will be able to attack and completely wipe it out, as well as other cities, because it turns out the train line attaches to all the others. So they're like, yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath. We have to get back to the city and let them know, or we need to stop the train. So they end up preparing to stop the train. That's their intent. We then cut away to Black Hat, who's yapping some lore, basically, just with Lucy, because Lucy is like, "What are you?" And then we learn that Black Hat is a priest that was not saved, but then rather than being destroyed and eaten by vampires, the queen vampire, who we just get a silhouette look, and it's basically just a skinnier, taller, more powerful looking vampire. Basically,
she's got wings.
Yeah, she uses her nail to cut her skin and drops queen vampire blood into Black Hat's mouth, and this somehow does some sort of conversion wherein Black Hat turns into a human vampire, which is okay. I kind of like this idea of changing vampires into like the vampire we're familiar with. The human vampire is what Black Hat is, and I think that's kind of neat that it's like, I like when vampires are special as opposed to just being like zombies.
Here's a monster. So, I like this too, because again, this is another very typical way that like some vampires are made. It's not always like bitten or whatever.
It's like sharing blood,
But this is another one where I'd be interested, okay, can this be done with a normal human?
Instead of just a priest.
And not a priest, because we've already determined that priests are supernatural in some kind of way, because that's even mentioned at the beginning, like they have powers, supernatural. So they're not human either. Or, so like, is it only the queen who can do this? Can the queen take a normal human and give a normal human her blood and they become a human vampire? Or does it have to be a priest? I'm going to assume only a priest, because if the vampire could have done, like the vampire queen could have done this, we'd probably have tons of human vampires running around. But that would have been, again, nice to have a little bit in there, but we didn't have time, and it's not that kind of movie.
And it seems that from the lore dump in the beginning of the film, priests were such a success that they basically, when they were made, they just wiped out vampires. So there wouldn't have been time for the queen to even test something like this. Like, it was just so overpowering. And pretty much every fight that priest has, like, he wins. So, like, as far as we know, that, like it tracks that would be in the far future, and this hasn't been tested yet. Yeah. So, anyways, kind of, like, neat. So, after the yap session, we go back to the main crew. There's more yapping about Hicks wanting to stop Paul Bettany from killing Lucy if they get infected. There is a funeral pyre for the dead priests. Then Paul Bettany and priests have their heart-to-heart. We do not get our power from... This is a quote from one of the characters. We don't get our power from the church. We get it from God. Okay, these are kind of neat theological ideas tossed into the story.
Yeah.
Fine enough for me. Anyways, we enter into our third act of the film. Priest is confronted by Hicks, and Hicks is like, "You have to. We cannot move forward unless you promise to me, Paul Bettany, that you will not kill Lucy if she's infected." But we then get this revelation that Paul Bettany is actually Lucy's father, and had Lucy with
Shannon.
With Shannon prior to Shannon. Prior to him becoming a priest, and prior to Shannon then marrying, or at the very least, I guess they've stayed together. Maybe they didn't sleep together, but
I think it's implied that Paul Bettany and Shannon were a couple and a thing prior. They had Lucy, and then his, I guess, powers developed, so he gets taken away, and his brother steps in to take care of the family, and that's what that's how I understood it. The whole biblical brother kind of thing that happens.
It doesn't quite explain why then this is the reason Paul Bettany is going to kill Lucy if she's infected. My presumption is just that it's like honor mercy killing type thing.
It's probably a little bit of that, because I feel like that's very typical.
Where it'd be like, I don't want my daughter to live as a familiar. I know what it would be like, so I'd rather she die.
Especially because he had that feeling of like at the beginning, like, why would anyone want to volunteer to do something like this? Like, he's already got like a stigma about it anyway. So they resolve their differences, and then they just chase after the train anyway. I just have a note that's like, okay, this is cool. It's a sci-fi Western train heist. Like, that's a neat finale. I would have wanted to get to that moment where they show up at the Cathedral City and do a fight. And there was like massacring everywhere, and they have to like figure out how to stop things. That would have been great.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
movies don't do that.
But yeah, they probably perceived that the massacre at Jericho was all they needed. And maybe in the manhwa there's more stuff later.
See it.
But we don't see it. And we cut away. And yeah. Anyways.
I'm not a violent person in real life, people. I know I sound
but it's a movie. I want to watch something.
It's so funny. I was just telling my husband, I forget what we were watching, but like there's all these movies where like we must stop the apocalypse from happening. Like this. Oh, we were watching Blade. And they bring back the big bad like demon guy. I'm like, for once, I would love for that to like actually happen. The big bad demon comes around and like darkness befalls the earth or whatever, and like that's the end of the movie or something, or like that's even the movie. And then what we get is the story of, okay, we now live in this awful, awful darkness. How can we fix it? Like, I want to see a movie where the bad guys win. And then we get like the resolution at the end. We never do, and it's really annoying. I mean, I'm sure there's something out there, but it would be interesting to see. Like, I want to see like the thing that the characters are so afraid of happening.
It's promised spectacle.
And then it happens. I want to see that because then I want to see how the characters deal with it, because that's kind of what you want. When it's like they're so worried about this thing happening and then they're able to stop it. It's like is there growth? Is there like I don't know.
Well, a better movie recognizes that Jaws needs to destroy the boat before Jaws gets killed. Like that is
master.
What's kind of fun and exciting, and it adds you to like be a gripping your seat. Like I can't wait to see what happens. And then
especially because you grow to care about the characters, and then as soon like if a character ends up dying that you cared about, like you actually feel something. Like you're like, oh man, I wish that didn't happen. That's horrible. But like you feel something.
Someone tell the Duffer Brothers.
That's what you want to do.
Someone tell the Duffer Brothers. So we finally get this train heist finale scene. Hicks hops onto the caboose. Priest. When I wrote that note, I thought, do people know what a caboose is? Like, can I say caboose? I don't have to say the end of the train. Or
like that's a good point.
Yeah,
I mean, trains aren't like a big transportation thing anymore. So, and like, are kids still playing with trains enough to know which one is the caboose?
I thought.
Are they watching Thomas the Tank Engine and know about the caboose?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So, anyways,
Melvin, we are old.
I committed and I wrote caboose. That's why I said it, and I thought that was kind of funny
word to say.
So Hicks, yeah, right? Because it's also just like a odd word. But anyways, so Hicks hops onto the caboose, and Paul Bettany and Priest then ride forward. They're all on speeder bikes. This is when I was like, how do I differentiate them? Because I'm just writing Priest and Priest. So then I have Little Priest, which is the other character. So I'm still going to do the Paul Bettany and Priest distinction. But so Priest. Oh, no, this is going to get confusing. All right. Paul Bettany's main character, Priest. Little Priest is other Priest. So Little Priest is going to bomb the track. So she races forward really far. Hicks is now inside the train, and he's avoiding like this basically train car that's just a bunch of birthing pods.
Sacks.
And then Paul Bettany jumps halfway into the train onto the rooftop, but he is confronted by Black Hat. Kind of okay, at least exchange. At least it just made my brain go burr. I like that when Paul Bettany sees Carl Urban, he goes, "You fell," and then Carl Urban yells back, "You let go."
And I would like to say, because when at the beginning of the show, I'm like, oh, this is going to be one of those moments where like the bad guy's going to be like, "You let me go." So I'm literally watching their hands slip, but obviously he's going to think that you let me go. But like, he like. Their hands slipped. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, no one was dragged by vampires.
Seriously.
like, I get that it's a rivalry, and I like rivalries. That's cool, but like, it was silly.
They could have at least made it a little bit more like, I don't know. It was really hard to tell. Like, no, it was so obvious. Like, I think Carl Urban was just jonesing for a rivalry. Like. The whole time. Maybe he was jealous even before all of this happened. And so he's like, this, I can go with this. This is my excuse why I hate this guy. So that's just, again, good bones. They just didn't do it very clean.
So now Little Priest, we cut to them. They're way far ahead, but some bikers were some biker.
The familiars on the bike.
Bikers familiar bikers come out of the train and chase them.
Like, they are motorbikes, but they look smaller. And in my head, I was like, they're just like on these little like ding 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 bikes as they go really fast. Yeah, it was really funny.
So there's this fight with them. This fight scene actually looks a little better, but it's still not great. Paul Bettany and Black Hat are also duking it out on the top of the train. So some neat stuff there.
Paul Bettany's getting his butt kicked. They're not really duking it out. He's just getting his butt kicked.
My one note here, Little Priest does a cool move that literally turns a familiar into like cheese cubes or something nutty.
Oh yeah. I don't where it's like a weird like mace on the end of a chain kind of like hook thing that like she
Like
like
a
attaches to him
deadly
and then like
yo-yo.
pulls him down. And I want to know, where was it attached to the familiar so that when she yanked down, he did end up in chunks? Because I feel like that's not the kind of weapon that does that.
It's like the
Cool
opening scene
visuals.
in Cube where the lines basically turn someone into like, yeah, just cubes. Like the person's just severed. It's kind of awesome. That might have been a unrated scene type thing because it is like
I mean,
it's a
Hicks
moment of
says
gore that's
the
like
F word, and I think
Yeah, but they
that's
get
what
one.
made it unrated.
They get 1 or 2. But this was kind of neat. Then we get to Paul Bettany, who's knocked off the train, but it ends up and Black Hat doesn't know that Paul Bettany was able to grab onto the train and climb in through another area.
Never trust it. You gotta double check, guys.
So Hicks then accidentally wakes up several vamps inside of the train, but he also finds Lucy, who is then being dragged forward up down the train. So he keeps chasing after her, and the vampires end up getting defeated because Hicks is able to bring some sunlight into the train. They head up to the front, this is when Hicks and Paul Bettany meet up, and now they're running forward to the front of the train. Mm-hmm. But when they get there and finally reach Lucy, Black Hat also appears, dropping from the ceiling. He kicks Hicks off of the train, so now Hicks is off to the side. I have a note that just says, F physics, I guess. He should have gone flying forward. Because in relation to the Earth, he is racing forward. So he's kicked out. He would still kind of be matching the speed of the train, but the second he hits the Earth, he should be rolling forward also, as well as outward.
Like,
but he doesn't.
Goes out the train and looks like he's going backwards towards the back of the train, but as soon as he lands, he should be rolling forward because of the momentum. He also should probably be dead.
Yeah, at the rate they're going,
moving that fast. So,
or at the very least, incapacitated. Like he'd
probably be paralyzed for the rest of his life.
His spine just like a Mortal Kombat scene. It just like X-rays and shows the spine splitting. Oh man. So Hicks spots a speeder. He gets on the speeder and he chases forward. Lucy didn't know that Paul Bettany was her dad. Black Hat spoils this. Paul Bettany gets quote unquote killed by being stabbed in his shoulder? I
think he also he was being held on the neck too. So I think there might have been a little bit of like a suffocation kind of thing going on also.
It felt very PG, honestly.
I'm telling you, this
to have
whole
a character
didn't need to
pass
be
out because
unrated.
It's unrated because the movie was probably given an R rating for something. So then they trimmed it down, got the PG-13 put in theaters, and then unrated becomes a sales point. And ultimately, they might have just... Unrated just means we put in a scene into the movie and then didn't get it rated again.
That's actually very true. But I would love to know who would even qualify a movie like this that would be rated R. Because I don't know if you noticed, Melvin. Every time someone is stabbed, it was quiet. It was like, it was just like a stab. It wasn't like there were no squelching sounds at all in this entire movie.
That's because they were transported into the future into Morbius, where there are squelching noises but no blood at all.
I'd rather I need both because it makes sense.
Want some quick updates on the podcast? Follow the Cinematic Doctrine Instagram for cool posts and story updates. Press the link in the show notes or search Cinematic Doctrine, that's one word, in your Instagram app. Oh, and we're on Threads. Check us out there too.
Okay, so finishing out the movie, Black Hat leaves and because he thinks that
everyone's dead.
He thinks that Priest is dead and everyone's done. Black Hat takes Lucy with him and he goes to the top of the train. He also lights the train on fire so Paul Bettany can burn inside of the train. But Paul Bettany wakes up from his nap and he jumps to the rooftop. Black Hat is then stabbed in the neck by a cross that Priest had thrown. This is the cross that he was given.
Stupid cross knife thing. It was so underwhelming. Like, this is gonna be so cool. It's gonna be one of those extender things, and it's gonna be like this cool sword. And then it was this
it's nothing.
Pew! Knife, and I'm like, really?
It's
That is
literally
so
nothing.
stupid.
Paul Bettany sort of falls off the train, but Lucy's able to catch him. And then they see that, and Black Hat had only hadn't been killed by the knife, just was able to didn't have a hold on Lucy anymore. So now the two of them have each other. But then
Dangling off
they
the side of the
see
train.
that Little Priest is racing their speeder bike into the train. I guess because the bikers succeeded in messing up.
I think during her fight, like she had all the bombs set up on the track just fine, and then the bikers caught up, so she stepped like away from the tracks to fight them. And I think within the fight, one of them got thrown and like landed on the bomb, so it broke. So she's like, "Oh shoot!" And then she strapped all the bombs to her bike and then like rode the bike towards the train.
Okay, because I was watching the movie and I did not understand that.
Yeah,
so
I don't think they don't really show where the body fell, like as the body fell onto it, but afterwards she walks over and like moves the body and then sees that the bomb bit is like broken.
Paul Bettany yells like not to do that, but then Little Priest does it anyway, but also jumps off in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because the car was on fire and the bombs were on the bike, the whole thing explodes and Black Hat comically dies. He like jumps and he's like
jumps,
no, and he does like a cross
and
pose
like the whole cross
dies.
pose. And yeah.
Anyway, so Black Hat's dead. They stop the train. And the ending is just a setup for another movie that will never come. Paul Bettany goes back to the cathedral city and he brings the head of a vampire and tosses it in front of the priests who are in the midst of doing a service. The priest is like, that's just a fake. It's a lie. And then Paul Bettany walks out and is like, nah, I don't care. I'm going to go fight vampires now.
Yeah.
And then he says, are you going to get the other priests? We're going to meet up. And then this is my note. The other priest plan to scratches out, who cares? There's no sequel. LOL.
Yeah, right.
So that's the end of the movie. The credits roll. Let's do it. Party pleaser or party pooper? You can kick it off.
Okay, hear me out. I think party pleaser because I think this would just be really fun discussions like while watching it with friends. Like I think like it's not necessarily like haha funny, look what's going on. Like I feel like it could just be a really interesting thing to talk about, kind of like what we did here. Like this really cool bones. How would you rewrite it? Like it could be a fun workshop type party pleaser type movie while also feeling like I don't need to rewatch it kind of thing. Like it'd be entertaining. That's how I feel about it. It's a party pleaser, in my opinion.
Party pooper for me. This was so boring, and I just would like not have a good time ever watching this again. If it was on, it would be so boring.
I definitely agree with that.
Don't watch this movie. Skip it. Priest is so boring. Been itching for Cinematic Doctrine merch? Check out the support tiers on Patreon. We're offering merch to those who support at select tiers. So head on over to patreon.com/Cinematic Doctrine and share your support. There's a link in the show notes, too. Let's get into recommendations. What do you recommend?
All right, I was able to find a recommendation. I was struggling earlier, but I will recommend a book that I read like the fall of last year called The Devouring Light by Kat Ellis. I'll read the synopsis on Goodreads. I will preface with like, it wasn't my like favorite or best book that I read last year, but it was an interesting concept. The scenery was really interesting. Descriptions were really good and all that kind of stuff. It's a good YA, like thriller horror book. Clown in a Cornfield meets The Cabin in this twisty, blood-curdling delight from acclaimed author Kat Ellis about a group of rivals stranded in an abandoned house that seems to have its own plans for them. When Hayden Romero, yes, Romero, and her rival Deacon Rex, alongside their bands including Hayden's ex, Cairo, are stranded on their way to a rock festival, she thinks missing the gig is the worst thing that could happen. She's wrong. Marooned in treacherous swamplands with no way out, the group stumbles upon an eerie, decaying house. It seems like a safe haven, a place to wait out the storm. The house, however, isn't just abandoned, it's been waiting for them. Bodies begin to pile up, the walls start to close in, twisted secrets come to light, and unless Hayden and the others can survive long enough to escape, the house will claim them forever. It's just an interesting, haunted type of book, little bit ghosty, little bit not quite unreliable narrator, but maybe some unreliable characters kind of mixed in. And then obviously some like personal drama between each of the characters as they struggle with their relationships with each other, but then how they're going to get out of this horrifying incident of being trapped in the middle of a swampland. And it's got an interesting ending. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I definitely recommend it.
And then I'm going to recommend actually a YouTube video that I just watched. If you are listening on Patreon, you've already heard the Begonia episode because this is going up after that. And if you're listening on the main feed, the Begonia episode is only on Patreon right now until it officially releases on the main feed. But in that, I talked about the idea of rich people telling people, other people, everybody, that they are better off dead. And then 2 or 3 days later, journalist Taylor Lorenz, independent now, put up a YouTube video called Tech Billionaires Want Us Dead, and talks about the current pervasive philosophy that tech billionaires, all the ones you're thinking of, have this quote and evoke and allude to a lot of atheist scientific philosophy of humanity's legacy will exist in technology, specifically AI and robots, and not as biological beings. And so because they believe that, and they believe that it is better to prepare to make a better world for the future than it is now, that is why they're comfortable with all of the problems that exist now, believing that, well, at the very least, I'm rich enough to make sure my consciousness will exist in some form in the future. So I don't mind if a couple bajillion people die. Anyways, it was just good timing to kind of like have my thoughts validated, as we all like sometimes. But also, it's a lot of research, and someone who is a tech optimist and who believes that technology is good and useful when it is good and useful for humans today, talk about how the richest, most powerful and influential people are making decisions that ultimately do not benefit anybody other than themselves, as they continue to build bunkers, as they continue to prepare for a quote-unquote event that they believe is going to happen, and so on and so forth. So check it out. It's about an hour, but it's, I think, very well researched, very engaging, and this is from an authority who has been in this world for over a decade and a half at this point. Yeah, it's not a very positive or uplifting view, but if you've been listening to the podcast for the last year and a half and I've become more emboldened to speak about what I feel about a lot of things, money is one of them, and my hatred of money. Yes, I use money because I live in a world, but the love of money is the root of all evil. And if there's anything you've learned from me over the last year, it's that I hate the love of money. So check out this. I think it's very interesting and engaging. I think you will enjoy it. It's also good for when you're doing chores to have on in the background, because you really don't need to be watching it per se. So yeah, check it out. Tech Billionaires Want Us Dead on YouTube by Taylor Lorenz.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Cinematic Doctrine. If you enjoyed the episode, give us 5 stars on whatever podcast app you're using. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe, too. We put out stuff like all the time. If you're listening on YouTube, hit that thumbs up and leave a comment. It helps the algorithm share our stuff around, and I see them, so I usually reply. Also, if you support on Patreon, you could have totally heard this episode early. There's a bunch of other benefits to supporting on Patreon, so head on over to patreon.com/cinematic doctrine to learn more. Speaking of Patreon, thank you so much to our Art House Theater tier Patreon supporters. Thanks, Thomas, Shirleon, Mom, and Dad. Your support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, stay cool.